I'm going to ask you folks, first of all, to always remind me. I won't take it poorly or in a bad way if you remind me to start recording the session, okay? That's it. I need to start doing that. But let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Kaz. I know on the course schedule it says that my name is Dr. Kazmicki, but everybody calls me Dr. Kaz. It's much easier for folks. So if you email me and I respond, Dr. Kaz, that's just how it is for my my email and whatnot. I'm going to pop off screen, but I'm going to keep talking here for a second as I'm getting some things. Just to kind of give you a small background about me, all right, I'm originally from New York, okay, and from upstate New York, Rochester, New York, and I graduated college down here in South Carolina. I went to the Citadel, the military college in Charleston there, graduated there, returned back up to New York for several years, went to chiropractic school up there. After I graduated there, I moved internationally. I lived down in the Caribbean for a little while, where I did some teaching at the Ross University School of Medicine. I was teaching anatomy, and I was also teaching radiographic imaging. And so I was there for about 3-4 years. Lived in Miami after that for almost a year. Worked in some hospitals in South Beach, Baptist Hospital there, also in Miami. And then I moved back to New York, started practicing, met my wife, got married, started a family, and then about 8-9 years ago moved down here. I've been here at Greenville Tech for almost 5. You're from Binghamton. All right, yeah, I'm very familiar with Binghamton. My family's originally from Elmira, New York. Binghamton and Elmira, for those of you, that's in the southern tier, the southern portion of New York State. New York State's kind of like a Y laying on its side. So they're on the bottom portion there. But anyways, so here I am. And today's class, we're going to talk about what to expect. Hold that thought, I'll be right back. I gotta grab something. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back. I left my water out in the hallway there. I do a lot of talking, so please forgive me. If I talk too fast, slow me down, okay? So tonight we're going to talk about, just typing my name in there, a couple things. We're going to go over the syllabus, some of the stuff on Blackboard, maybe a little bit of Connect. We're going to go over the course schedule, talk about the class division, when you'll be in class live on campus, and when you'll be home. And then we'll hopefully, well, we definitely will, but we'll go over some lab and lecture material, okay? So let me just kind of jump right in, all right, into a couple things here. Let me turn off the camera here real quick. And let's start off, all right, with the course syllabus right away. Just to let you know, if you have any questions, type them right into the chat line there, and I will answer them. Don't be afraid to interrupt me, okay? Make statements, talk about things. That is perfectly okay. All right, zoom this in a little bit. All right, I'm hoping that some of you have already had a chance to look over the course syllabus here, okay? You see here, this is a 4-credit class. The only prerequisite that you need is English 101. I'm not going to be going through all the parts, so don't worry. I'll let you kind of go through the course details, purpose of the course and whatnot. But the books, everyone asks me, what books do I need for this course? What do I need? What do I need? Well, the first one is when you sign up for this course, you're going to get automatic access to the McGraw-Hill, that's the publisher for the textbook. You're going to get automatic access to their website, the Connect website, all right? And so with that access, you get, all right, access to the Anatomy, Physiology, and Integrative Approach 3rd edition ebook. Okay? So that's included in the course. Right, so it's right there online for you. You can access it from any computer, even your smartphone, and you can go right to work on reading that. Okay? So that is definitely one of the textbooks that you'll need. All right? If you want to get a paper version of this, you can actually get the hardcover one, which is several hundreds of dollars, or you can get the paperback version. Okay? And I cannot recall how much that costs. You can go to the bookstore and ask. It's a loose leaf version. You can put it in like a 3-ring binder. I have some students that like to do that. And I want to say it's either $60 or $80. I'm the type of person that likes to have it. Is it $38? All right. See, I was way off. Yes, last night. Thank you. Thank you very much. Last night I was telling the other section. I said it's either $30, $60, or $80. But I think $38 is a really good deal. Okay? And that's if you want to have something tangible. To maybe take notes in or underline or highlight, whatever works for you, okay? So that's this guy right here. This is what I'm talking about. That's that loose leaf, all right? So it's $38, all right? The second book that you will need is the Atlas of Anatomy, 2nd edition Smith, okay? You'll need that. That has all the pictures of the slides, all right, right in there. And so you'll need that because that's something great to look at. And it'll make the class a lot easier. The third book or manual that you'll need is the lab manual. This is the least expensive out of all the books that you need. The lab manual, I think, is like $5 or $7. And it has all the terms that you're responsible for in lab. Okay? All the terms that you are responsible for. So those are the 3 that you definitely should get. Okay, the lab manual, okay, the lab atlas, right, and then you'll already have the textbook, but if you want to get the loose leaf version, you can go and get that at the bookstore for $38. Okay, so that's what you'll need, right? But you already have the book, the textbook, when you sign up for the course. All right. A couple other things that you'll need. Because of Greenville Tech's policy with COVID-19, everybody has to wear a mask. All right? It's for everybody's safety, so please, when you are on campus, all right, you have to wear your mask. And you need to be wearing it properly. Okay? All right. You'll also need some gloves, because guess what? Part of our class time, and it'll only be about 5 minutes or so, part of our class time we are going to spend on wiping down the surfaces that you'll be sitting at. Okay? So, and we'll have gloves here, but you are going to actually need to come in and wipe down the surface that you're sitting at. All right? So I'll go through the instructions when you're actually here on campus, but it's going to just take about 5 minutes because you need to, I watched a video on it last night. All right, you're not going to spray the surface down. You're going to spray the surface. You're going to spray a cloth, and then wipe the cloth across the surface that you'll be sitting at and touching. And then you got to wait for 5 minutes for it to dry, and then we can proceed. Okay. All right. Next part is the COVID-19 reporting. There is a good opportunity that, or excuse me, not a good opportunity, a good possibility that somebody is going to come down with COVID-19. All right. In that event, do I provide the gloves? I do have gloves here. Okay. All right. There are going to be gloves here, but and I will talk more about that. I am not sure if we're going to keep providing those gloves. It's quite possible we might, but we might have you guys possibly go and buy a box for yourselves. All right, I would recommend probably going out and buying a box for yourself because some of the gloves might not fit. All right, I have size large here in this room. All right, so in the event you get COVID-19, you test positive for it, or you are exhibiting some of the symptoms, don't come to school. If you've been in contact with somebody that's got COVID-19, don't come to school. All right, you have 10 to 14 days. You're going to need to contact this group right here. All right, and then they will contact me. Now, feel free to contact me also. All right, but you will contact that organization. It's the COVID-19, they call it the response team, and you need to tell them what's going on. All right, now don't worry about, if you're not in class, about the attendance. You get a special pass for that. Doesn't mean that you can still attend online, and I will expect you to do so, but you will not be marked absent. You will get a special mark for people that are COVID, okay? So you will not be in danger of being dropped from the class, all right? So if you test positive or have symptoms, don't come to school, all right? If you've been in close contact with somebody that's positive or symptomatic, don't come to school, okay? All right, next, here's the grading scale. Pretty much straightforward, all right? We have this option here, the pass, non-pass. Now you can decide to take this class all the way up as a grading scale of A, B, C, D, or F. And all the way up until the very last day of class, you could say, you know what, I got a C in the class, but I just want to now convert myself over to a pass, non-pass. Because an A, B, or a C, you pass the class. A D or an F, you don't pass the class. So you can change to this option all the way up to the last day. It has to be before the final exam, though. All right, and more on that when we go over the course schedule. Honor Lock, that is our test proctoring system, okay? Which means all of the exams that you will take in this course, you will take at home on your computer. The nice thing about Honor Lock is that you do not need to make an account. You do not need to download any software onto your computer. All right, but there is a practice exam, all right, under the test tab. You need to take the practice exam because it shows you how to take a test on Honor Lock. All right, you have to have a webcam for this. If you don't have one, you need to go get one. You cannot be in this course without a webcam. Most computers have it. If yours does not, you need to borrow somebody's or go buy a cheap one, okay? It's part of the rules, not my rules. It's part of the department rules and the school rules. In order to take tests in this course, you need to have a webcam because the webcam will be watching you, okay? And so to make sure that the students aren't doing anything nefarious, that means anything they shouldn't be doing, okay? You cannot wear, there's instructions and we'll go over it more, but you can't wear hats. You can't look off the screen. You can't have scratch paper. You can't have your cell phone with you. You can't have a smartwatch on, all right? You always have to be in the camera's view. There's a lot of rules to this thing, and we'll go over it more as we get closer to the tests, okay? All right, that's Honor Lock. Next, I'll skip that course outcomes. I'll let you look it over, all the other stuff, yada, yada. Okay, an administrative withdrawals. How can I be dropped from this class? Well, an easy way to be dropped from this class is if you never show up. Right? If you never show up, that's the NIC, never in class. We drop you, okay? It will not affect your GPA. If you are not in attendance for 14 calendar days, 14 consecutive calendar days. That includes weekends, holidays, college breaks like Thanksgiving, all right? You do not come to school on any of those appointed days that you're supposed to be here, or if you're not in attendance online, all right, and you miss 14 consecutive calendar days, then you will be dropped from the class. Okay? So keep that in mind. If you're planning on not coming to class before Thanksgiving break and after Thanksgiving break, you're going to get dropped from the class. Okay? All right. We'll talk more about the other stuff here, methods of presentation. All right, test policy. You will have 4 lecture tests, 4 lab tests, 1 lab final, 1 lecture final. That's a total of 10 tests in this class. Lecture tests are going to be multiple choice and true-false, some matching, all right? Lab tests are mainly going to be identification, which means we'll put a picture of the heart up there, and it'll ask you, what is this? And you will write down heart. It is not multiple choice. There's no word bank made available. Spelling counts, okay? And I'll go over in more detail about ways to study for the lab test. So about 80% of your lab test will be identification. The other 20% will be some multiple choice matching or true-false questions that pertain to some of the lab material, okay? All right, so people ask me, what does the test cover? Everything that comes out of my mouth. And I know that seems like a lot because there's a lot of material for this course, all right? And a lot of it is very important. But everything that comes out of my mouth is testable material. And I tell folks a good way to know what's going to be on the test is when you're doing your study guides, all right? Those questions on the study guides are the learning outcomes or the course objectives. That's where I get my test questions from, is the learning objectives, right? And more on that when we get into Blackboard, right? Test location is going to be your home, hopefully, all right? That's where you will be taking the test with HonorLock online, okay? No Scantrons, you don't need to worry about that, all right? Makeup tests. So let's talk about that policy, okay? Now, one of the things that you need to understand with the tests, with how we're doing it this semester, is in the past, you would come in on a specific day and take a test on that specific day, like a Monday, okay? And you would come in and take your lecture test on a Monday. Well, with this format that we're using, we are now going to change that, and we're going to give you 2 days. So for your first lecture test, I believe it's September 21st and 22nd. I believe that's a Monday and a Tuesday. So you need to take your test on either day, okay? You don't have to take it on Monday. You can take it by Tuesday, but you have a 2-day period to take the test. You need to complete the test no later than 11:59 on the second day. So what that means is September 21st and 22nd, if you decide I'm going to take my lecture test on the second day, I'm going to take it on the 22nd. All right? Don't start it at 11:30 at night, because what happens is you can start it before the time, but if you're late in the submission, you lose points. All right? You need to have the test completed before 11:59. And I have taken points off for people that have submitted the test late. So don't do it. I'm telling you now. Just don't do it. Okay? So in the event that you can't take that test either one of those days, say you're you got hit in the head and you're in a coma for 2 days, okay? And it happens to be on that test day, all right? What will happen is you'll get a 0 for that lecture test, and then you'll come to me and say, listen, Dr. Kaz, I couldn't take the test because I was in the hospital, I had a coma. And I'll say, okay, just give me a note from your doctor, and you do. And then I say, okay, this is what's going to happen. When you take your lecture final, the lecture final will count twice, all right? It will count as your grade for the lecture final, but it'll also count as your missed lecture test, okay? So that's what will happen. So if you miss, your lecture final will count twice with an excused absence. There's only 3 excused absences in this course. One is military orders. The second one is kind of what I described, a medical excuse. All right, and the third is bereavement or death in the family. You have to go out of town and you can't take the test. Then what will happen is I will need a death certificate or an obituary. Again, I have to submit this. These aren't my rules. I think it's kind of morbid, all right? We need to get a death certificate from you, but that's just how it is. Okay, so our rule for this course, all right, is there are no makeup quizzes, because you do have some quizzes in this class, and there are no makeup assignments. And there's no makeup tests, okay, except for the reasons that I just gave you, okay? You do not do any of that. So if you're going to miss an exam, let me know, all right? For whatever reason, military orders, death in the family, or if there was a medical excuse. It has to be a valid medical excuse. Trust me, I've heard so many different excuses, and I will call BS on you, All right, and so make sure that if you can't, and plus think about it. It's nice though, the way that we're doing it this semester. You have 2 days to take the test. All right, and you can take it at any time during those days. If you want to take it at 3 in the morning, take it at 3 in the morning. It just has to be submitted before the due date. Okay. Same goes for lab. Same type of situation. Lab and lecture are going to be the same for the makeup policies. All right, here are your grade calculations. All right, you have 4 lecture tests. That counts for 30% of your grade. You have 4 lab tests. That counts for another 30%. You have different assignments, lab study guides, Learn Smart assignments, quizzes, all right, and lab preparation activities. All of those count for 20% of your grade. The last remaining 20% is split between the lecture final and the lab final. Each count for 10%. Okay? All right, study guides. All right, all your study guides need to be handwritten. All right, you cannot type them out. You type them out, I don't accept them, you get a 0. I can cut and paste too. All right, so you will handwrite them out. All right, if you need, if there's an issue with that, contact me by email and we'll talk it over. Okay, there are instructions on Blackboard on how to submit your study guides, because you will have to submit assignments online. Okay, so there's videos online on Blackboard, all right, that will show you how to submit assignments. It's easy. It's a 4-minute video. It's quick and easy. Might even be shorter than that. Okay. All right. Also, lab and lecture tests. No tests will be dropped. We don't drop any test grades. No extra credit is given. Okay, these are all department policies. All right, here is the section about what is considered an excused absence. So for you to have the lecture final or the lab final count, all right, for a test that you missed, all right, it needs to be an excused absence. And that the examples that I gave you, military orders, illness or bereavement or death in the family, all right, that is going to be what's considered an excused absence. If it's an unexcused absence, you don't have a chance of getting a makeup test for that. All right, classroom behavior, it's pretty self-explanatory. Please, while I'm talking and teaching, be respectful of your fellow classmates. All right, keep your cell phones away. Okay, you can check them on the break. All right, there's really nothing that's more important on your cell phone than what I am saying. Right, because all this information is going to be very helpful for you. It's going to make you a better student. And in any profession that you're going into, a lot of you are going into possibly the healthcare field like nursing or dental hygiene or physical therapy, occupational therapy, whatever. All right, so this course is going to help you a lot in this. All right, the other stuff I'll let you read through, okay? It just talks about students with disabilities. If you have any testing disabilities or special testing accommodations, you are going to want to contact this group here, okay? Don't contact me, because they'll contact me once you contacted them, okay? If you have special testing needs, talk to these people, right? And then they'll help you out, and then they'll let me know, okay? All the rest of this stuff you can let you read on your own. All right. So, any questions so far? Anything that comes to mind? Okay, we're going to do some more, but I wanted to take a quick break there and see if there's any questions so far on the syllabus. If you're not quite sure, don't worry. I'm recording this, so you can go back, and I'll tell you how to go back and see these recorded sessions. All right, it takes, depending on the Blackboard server, all right, how long these sessions are. It might take a few days before I can post them, but I will let you know. All right, I will make an announcement on Blackboard. I'll also make an email announcement and send you a link that you can get these Blackboard sessions on. Online, it refers to the CAM scanner. Yes, app. Do we need that? Yes, you do. So I have it on my phone. It's an easy, seriously, it's an easy app. Okay, you'll take a picture of whatever the document is. It'll convert it over to PDF if you want it to. Okay, and you can then submit it that way. Okay, there's instructions on Blackboard. It'll go through it. It's really it's easy. All right, if I can do it, I know you guys can. All right. All right, let's go back to our screen here. What's the other one I want to do? Well, let's do the class division right now. All right, so up here, or on your screen now, whoops. All right, on the screen here, you should see, okay, class division. There's two groups, okay? You have an A group and a B group. So the A group, which is the Tuesday group, you will be live on campus, which means you will come to campus and sit in the room with me. Lucky you guys, okay? If you're in group B, on Tuesday night, you'll stay home and you'll watch on Blackboard. And then what will happen, Thursday rolls around, okay? And then group B will be live on campus. So you'll come to campus and you'll sit with me, all right, while I'm talking to you. And group A will be at home. Okay, so you're only coming to campus once a week. Okay, normal class times. Lecture is always at 6, lab is always at 7:40. Attendance will be taken. You don't come to class, you will be marked absent. All right, and I can tell who's online, all right, because your name shows up. So I can see if you're here with me or not. All right, if you want to change sections because of some sort of scheduling conflict, we have a full class right now. So I can't add one person to one section unless I take another person out of that section. So this is what's going to happen. It happened with my other section. You have to work it out amongst yourselves. Okay? So I would say talk to somebody in the other section or send out, you know, an announcement or an email to your classmates saying, I'd like to switch. Can anyone switch with me? All right, and then inform me. Okay? But I need you to do that on your own. Do we have lab every day that class meets? Correct. Yes, you do. So like I said, every day you'll have lecture, and every day you'll have lab. If an answer is not spelled properly, is it wrong? If an answer is not spelled properly, is it wrong for 0 points or is it partial points? That's great, great question. You're talking about the lab exam. So yes, here's the story with that. Spelling counts for the lab exam. So obviously, if you spell it 100% correctly, you'll get 100% of the points. All right. If you spell it incorrectly, but yet it's phonetically correct, all right, you will get partial credit. All right. If you just butcher it and it doesn't sound anything like it, okay, then you will get no credit. Also, will we have lab time today as well? We will. We're going to still, yes, lab and lecture today. Okay. I will go through the whole thing today. My time is very limited with the content that I have to teach, so I'm going to try to take as much advantage of the time that I have. Where is this class located? At your house, Gracie. No, here's it. This class right now is supposed to be in building 120 on the Barton campus in room 344. Okay? But right now, that room is temporarily unavailable. So that means, all right, that as of right now, I have to use room 326, which is right down the hall. I mean, it's maybe 10 yards away, if that. So if you're looking at 344, you look over towards your left, and you walk to the corner there, and that's 326. All right. Trust me, when you see the setup in here, it's less than ideal for what I need to do. And I'm one of those teachers, I like to walk around. I like to be amongst the people. I need to be in amongst the students. And I have to now stay behind this computer. I hate it. All right, so I emailed this out to you. I believe I did. If I didn't, did I email this out to you guys? Okay, I did. Okay, all right. So I just wanted to make sure that you have a list, and I know some of you were added late to the section here. I'm going to keep talking here. My voice is going to probably sound far away. I got to grab something here. There we go. Sometimes I have to write things down. I'm one of those people that has to write things down all the time for reminders. All right. How many of you have heard of Quizlet? Anybody familiar with Quizlet? All right. Does anyone, do you like Quizlet? Okay. All right, cool. All right. I have some Quizlet links that I will be posting every week, okay? And some people have asked me, should I get the flashcards? Should I get the flashcards? And I'm going to tell you, it's not for me to say yes or no, but I will pass on to you what some students in the past have said, that they bought the flashcards and they were disappointed that they bought the flashcards, okay? I'm not saying it's not worth it, okay? But they just weren't a huge fan of the flashcards. My Quizlets are in a flashcard format. It'll have all the slides, okay? Or I want to say, I know I'm probably missing one or two. In part of chapter 11, the bones, for some reason, I can't find that. I'll look for it, okay? But anyways, I'll send those links out to you. You guys can use the Quizlet for help, all right, for flashcard format. Okay, all right, let's get out of this. Let's look over the course schedule. Everybody likes the course schedule. That is not the best fit. All right, so here's the course schedule. It's telling you where we're meeting. All right, Barton campus. Oh, and I apologize. I am so sorry. Valeria, I did not answer your question. Yes, as of right now, our class will meet on Thursday, for those of you that have to be on campus, in room 326, okay? On the course schedule, all right, the room is normally 344, okay? But again, until whatever the problem is fixed in there, okay, we'll meet in 326. This is going to be awful. Well, it's not too bad. 326, okay? All right, so here's all the information. If you ever want to meet up with me for student like office hours, what I tell folks is we can do a virtual online visit. All right, just email me. We'll set up an appointment time. We'll use this Blackboard Collaborate. All right, and we'll talk face to face. Okay. The best way to get in touch with me is this email address right here. Okay, a lot of you have already been using that. I check it all the time. It comes directly to my cell phone. Okay, so there might be a couple hour blocks during the day if I'm in with patients that I don't check the phone, but usually I check it several times a day. Okay, so except on the weekends, I'm a little bit less frequent. All right, so if you send me an email on Saturday or Friday night, I might not get back to you until Monday. All right. Normally, that's rarely the case, but there's always that possibility. Like Labor Day weekend, I'll be out of town, so don't email me. No, I'm kidding. You can email me. Just don't expect a prompt response. All right. I'll let you look through the instructor course policies, just kind of give you a little bit of an idea. We already went over the course grading here. All right, let's look at the schedule. So today, we're going to be doing our introduction, okay, for both lab and lecture. We'll go over chapter 1. We should finish chapter 1 today, and we'll start to do some of the material in chapter 2. I'm sorry. And then we'll start to do some lab material, some identification stuff. All right. So this breaks it down, right, by the dates and the week and what we're doing. Now, again, this schedule can always change, okay? But I actually modified this to the way that I like it, so I think we should be pretty good. But again, there's always a possibility where we have to change some things. The last day to withdraw from this class is on the 27th of October, okay? You decide, hey, you know what? I don't want to take this class. You have up until that date to withdraw, okay? A couple dates here where we don't have class, all right? This is fall break, I believe, the 3rd of November. Obviously, here's Thanksgiving. No class on Thanksgiving Day, right? Here is the last day to request that we make the class pass, non-pass class, okay? So you pretty much have up to the last day of class before the final exam, okay? Here, make sure that you write all these test dates down. Somewhere, somehow, okay? So you can see there's four lecture exams and 4 lab exams, and then 1 lecture final, 1 lab final. And you notice how there's 2 days, all right? You have to take the test by the end of the 2nd day. So by 11:59 on September 22nd, you need to have completed your online lecture exam. Okay? That is the same for all of these. So keep in mind, some of these days are Monday, Tuesdays. Some are Wednesday, Thursday. All right? And you don't have any Wednesday, you don't have any Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. Okay? So it's either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. Okay? So, on to our assignments and activities portion. All right, this is 20%. Everything under here is going to get factored into 20% of your overall grade. These are all graded activities here. Okay? So, the due dates are listed here. All the due dates, if you look on your calendar, are Sunday. So keep in mind that every Sunday you are going to submit to me, okay, assignments. So this Sunday you have to submit the AS Acknowledgement Form, the required information quiz, all right, and then quiz chapter 1 and lab preparation chapter 1. Those are both found on Connect, okay? So those need to be submitted to me no later than 11:59 Sunday evening. Now you can submit them earlier, okay? Just keep in mind that just because the due date is listed there doesn't mean that's the day that you have to submit it. Feel free to space these assignments out. But every week you're going to have an assignment due. So I would suggest that you do a little bit, all right, throughout the week, okay? Learn Smarts are easy because it's an all or none grade, okay? You need to complete the whole assignment. So it's an easy grade. All right. And here are all the rest of the assignments here. So these are all Sunday due dates. All of them. All right. Questions for me so far? All right. If not, let's take you to Blackboard. We're going to go to Blackboard for a few moments. I'm going to show you a few things. I'm going to show you a few things. Let me just do a few things here real fast. Not doing what I wanted to do. Give me 1 second. All right. All right. I'm using a less than ideal monitor here. So, all right, let's do this. I'm going to share the application screen with you. All right, so now you're going to see what I call it the infinity screen. Okay, so you should be looking at a screen and it looks like everything's going into infinity. All right, I'm going to switch over here to Blackboard. All right, this is a different view, so you'll have to forgive me. I don't like this this monitor here. All right, I'm using an old monitor, so it's not going to give you the ideal appearance of what Blackboard should look like. But on the left-hand side of Blackboard, you have this column here. All right, it shows you all these different tabs here. So obviously the announcement tab right here on the front. So all the announcements will appear here. Okay, and if we scroll down, all right, you'll see the title page. There's some videos here that I would suggest that you watch. But if you come down here to getting started, if you click onto this, this will start to get you started on how to begin this course. Okay, I'm going to keep scrolling down here a little bit. I'll come back to that. All right, if you're having issues with any of your Connect assignments, don't contact me. All right, don't contact me. Follow the instructions here. Okay, because you're going to say, I had a problem with Connect, and then my response is going to be, all right, well, please give me, all right, the number that they assign to you, all right, for your work, the work number. Okay, because they will assign you a number that reflects as your case number right here. All right, so I'll need that. If you don't give me a case number, I can't help you. Okay, I am not an IT person. All right, here's a TED Talk if you want to watch that. Submitting guides on Blackboard. Follow this link. Okay, this will show you how to submit your study guides onto Blackboard. Here's a video on how to use Cam Scanner. Again, you'll need to know how to use Cam Scanner to submit, all right, study guides. So watch this video. All right, all this stuff is under the Announcements tab. All right, I'll let you read that. Email guidelines, let you take care of that. If you want to look up the rubrics for grading, all right here, you can watch this quick video. I believe it's only a couple minutes on how to get started in the course. All right. Here are my personal announcements. You should, every week I will be sending you out an announcement. So for week 1, all right, I tell you what you're going to be required to do for that week. I make suggestions like, hey, you should be studying this chapter, you should be reviewing this chapter. Okay? So for this first week, you have 3 assignments listed here. The first 2, okay, the School of Arts and Science Policy Acknowledgement and the Required Information Quiz, those are due this Sunday. All right, the Introduce Yourself to the Class, that's a discussion board assignment, is due next Sunday. Where can I find the discussion board? Come on. All right, I guess that does not want to appear here. This is really annoying me. Oh, wait a minute. Let's try it again. There we go. All right. How do I get to the discussion board? You look to that little drop menu on the left-hand side. Go to Course Tools, Discussion Board. Click on the discussion board. Here you'll find Introduce Yourself to the Class. Okay. In this assignment, you're asked 5 questions. I expect at least 2 sentences per question. If you want to give me more, fine. All right. Don't waste my time and hardly give me any information. Okay. Make sure, all right, that you're giving me the information that I really want to see. All right, what I'm asking for. Okay. So here are the 5 questions. Respond to those questions, and that's part of your grade. The other part is you need to respond to at least 2 other students' posts. You know, like, hey, Bob, that's really great. That's fascinating that you're an avid sailor. You know, I spent 3 years in Australia racing yachts or whatever, something like that. You know, something that shows that you've read your classmates' information and make at least somewhat of a response to what they had written there. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the announcements here. I'm going to drop down. All right. So my announcements are going to come out every week. Okay, week 1 is a long one, all right? This is the longest announcement. Trust me, they become shorter. So there's some information here. Please read it, and I email you these same announcements too, okay? So here are your lecture assignments for the week, okay? And then down here, we have our lab assignments, okay? So there's a lot of information here that I suggest that you look over, okay? I'll let you go through the other stuff. I think I hit everything that I wanted to. All right, some of these things, again, my screen is going to look different than yours will. All right, so to get started in this course, you're going to go to the syllabus information, okay, and you're going to click on this first part, getting started. And there's a checklist here, and it goes through all the things that you need to do, okay? Well, I don't know why I did that. All right, but here's your course syllabus. Now, people have asked me, well, where do I go and submit, all right, the acknowledgement form for the School of Arts and Science policies? Click right here. This will pop up, okay? Whoops, hold on. This will pop up, okay? It tells you the due date here, which is not the due date that should be set. What the heck? All right, I'll have to fix that. But anyways, and then you'll have saved it to your computer, hopefully. Click on Browse My Computer, and then you can submit it into that. All right, let me go back there. Okay, so when you want to get the form, you can click onto the attached files here. Here's the PDF form, all right, or the Word document, or the Word. You can use, if you want to use PDF format, or if you want to use the Word document, either one of these. Okay. Here's the course schedule. Here's the required information quiz, how to take a test. Okay. So all this stuff is listed here. You just got to kind of mess around with it. And then here's another way to get to the introduce yourself to the class, the discussion board. You can click on this link, it'll take you right to the discussion board. All right, please read through this stuff. All right, so now you're probably wondering, alrighty, now you're wondering, where can I get to the assignments here? All right, so what we've done is we've taken all the chapters and put the assignments by chapter into their own folder, okay? So you'll click on the chapter 1, okay? And down here you'll see, all right, you have your lecture learning outcomes and your lab learning outcomes. This is where I get, all right, all of my test questions from, right here. These concepts, these outcomes, okay? So if you want to know what's on the test, here it is. This is on the test, okay? So this folder under chapter 1, assignments and activities, you can see this is what this folder contains. Not everything here is what you need, all right? Excuse me, not everything here is a graded activity for this section, okay? But all of your graded activities will be here. You just, not all of these are for you. So what I mean by that is you'll click onto this and you'll see, all right, chapter 1, lab preparation. Okay, so you'll click onto this link, it'll take you to Connect, and you'll do the lab preparation exercise. Here's the Learn Smart, same thing. You'll click onto this, all right, even though it's not due, and the due dates are listed here too. All right, you'll click onto this, it'll take you to the Connect, and you'll do the Learn Smart exercise. All right, here's the quiz, quiz chapter 1, all right, same thing. It's due this Sunday. Click onto this, it'll take you to Connect, all right, and you will do that exercise there. All right. If you have questions, just let me know. All right. And throughout the semester, we'll go through this stuff. Okay. And again, here's another spot if you're concerned on how to submit the study guides on Blackboard. All right. Here are the directions once again. Here's the YouTube video. All right. And then instructions on how to do it. So there's a couple different places that you'll be able to find some of this stuff. All right. I didn't see these questions here. Hold on. Let's turn that off. I'm having tech issues. Gonna log in on my, oh yeah. If things happen, if things start to freeze on you, what I suggest people do is I say just close the browser, open it back up, and jump back in. How do we know if something is graded or not? Go to your My Grades section. So the My Grades section is going to be, it's going to look different on mine only because I can't get into the student view on this. All right, so the My Grades section is going to be, you'll click on that, and it'll show you. Once I've graded something, and in most cases, it'll pop in right up in here, okay? So you just go to My Grades, and that'll tell you when something's been graded. All right, again, if it felt like, you know, that was a lot, yeah, it was. But we'll go through it, trust me. We'll take you there. We'll get you through it. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's do this. I'm going to start a quick presentation here with you guys about active and passive learning. Quick. There's just a few things, because this is something that's going to help you out, all right, in regards to taking my class, all right? Different styles of learning, all right? If you haven't figured out a good style of learning for you, you're not alone. That happens a lot to people, okay? I didn't really know how to study until I graduated from college, all right? I mean, I can't remember because I was in college a long time ago. I'm sure that the style of studying and learning that I did in college was okay, but I didn't know what worked best for me. And I hope that you're like me, you don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want you to waste your time, okay? So you should really try to figure out what works best for you. And so we broke it down that we have active and passive learners here, all right? So there's a situation in which I'm sure we've all found ourselves in, where you're sitting there or standing there and you're talking to somebody, and they're talking to you, and in the middle of their conversation, you might think to yourself, I don't even know what this person is saying to me. And a lot of those times when that occurs, it's because you're not really paying them attention. You're hearing them, all right, but you're not listening to them, all right? And that's the similarity between active and passive learning, okay? So when you're hearing somebody, that's passive. Yeah, your ears are picking up the sound vibrations that are entering in, but you might not, if asked what they just said to you, you might be like, I don't know what they said to me, all right? Now, when you're listening to somebody, you're actively taking in that information. So when you're asked later on, hey, what did Sandra say to you? Then you can be like, oh, yeah, she was telling me about her dinner experience the other night at Red Lobster or something, okay? So what we want to do is I want you guys to be active learners, okay? So when you are sitting there, all right, listening to what I'm saying, you're understanding it, you are going to be actively learning, and you are going to perform better in this course, okay? So when you're actively doing anything, you literally have to act, all right? You are going to be doing things, all right? When you're passive, you're not really doing anything. You're there just, you're not a part of, you're not participating, all right, in what's going on, okay? So I want you to be active. I'm going to try to discourage passive learning, okay? So when we talk about active learning, think of it simply as doing something, all right? That's going to help you perform better in this course, okay? So some of the examples, and this is really where I want to get to, is one, come to class, all right? Be online, and don't just sign in and walk away from your computer, okay? It's going to be really hard for me to feel bad for people that do that when they're not doing well on the test, and they come in, okay? And they say, Dr. Kaz, you know, I didn't do very well on the test. And one of the things I'll ask them is like, were you sitting there actively engaged? Were you asking me questions in class or on the Blackboard? Because that's how I can tell if you're actively learning or not. Take notes. Take lots of notes, or take a little notes. Take good notes. This should be actually said, instead of taking notes, it should say take good quality notes, because quantity doesn't mean it's quality. All right? So take notes. Now for me, my problem is I'd be writing so much that I wouldn't be really paying attention or understanding what the instructor was saying. No problem. Okay? Record. I don't have a problem if you want to bring a recording device to class. All right? It's got to be an audio recording class. I've had students use their phones, and they'll record me. Okay? Record me, and then they'll go back and they'll take notes from the recordings. Do that. That's what I used to do. And then I would take some notes in class. How long are the recorded online sessions available after lecture? That's a great question. They should be available as long as the course exists. So as long as the course is on Blackboard. Then again, it's going to be different in the fall because a lot more people are going to be using Blackboard Collaborate. So it depends on how much storage that the server has. Okay? So that's why I try to keep these sessions concise and shorter, so I'm not taking up a lot of server space. Okay? Read the assignments. Right? All the assignments. The Learn Smart is basically a reading assignment. Okay? You can be involved in that. Hi. Is that for me?
Yeah, keeps the biology resource center.
Perfect. All right, cool. Thank you. All right. Obviously, study from the materials. Now, what are the materials going to be? Well, think of all the resources that you have in this course. Okay. You have got the lecture, the textbook. You've got the lab atlas, the lab manual. All right. You'll have Quizlet. All right. You've got Google if you want to look stuff up. The models that we use in the class. So that's what we're talking about, studying from the materials. There's plenty of materials for you to take advantage of that you should use. All right, listen to me in class. Don't just hear me, listen. All right, the last one here, learning from mistakes. Take a test, and you're like, man, I could have done better on that test. I actually sat for 2.5 hours with my sister-in-law today, and I went over a certification practice test that she's trying to do to become a certified physical trainer. And we sat down and we went through her test, and we went over all the questions that she got right and wrong. And when she was done, she learned that some of the mistakes that she'd made on some of the questions that she had gotten wrong, she learned why she got it wrong, and now she says, well, if I see something like that again, I won't miss that again. So that's what we're talking about from learning from mistakes, okay? All right, so again, this will help you. All right, so when you have this active learning going on, all right, this is going to help you, one, learn the material. It's going to help increase your self-confidence, and you can help to motivate yourself and also be resourceful in trying to learn this material here. All right? And when we talk about a student who brings a sense of urgency to each and every learning occasion, a sense of urgency in which, hey, I'm not wasting my time. I am getting this material absorbed as much as I can so I can understand it as much as I can. Okay? So some of the active study habits: come to class, ask me questions. Okay? Take good and accurate notes. Right? Use them as much as you can. Right? Make sure you do all the assignments. Right? And do it by the date of the due date, the date of completion. But make sure that you're not trying to rush through it too. So don't wait to the last minute. Okay? If you do happen to have an absence from class, come by and talk to me if you can, or email me. Now, don't email me, because I get students that do this every semester, and they're like, hey, what did I miss in class? No. I don't have time to write out a lengthy email about everything that you missed in class, right? You know what you missed in class. Look on the course schedule, right? See what topic we were going to go over, or what chapter we were going to go over in class. That's what you missed in class. Okay? All right. So a couple things that you're going to benefit from being an active learner here, all right, is that you're going to learn a lot more, all right, through that process of active learning. And when you do that, you'll understand it. And here's the nice thing. When you're actively learning, you learn more with less effort and with less time, because you learn how to use that time more efficiently. So the quality becomes way better, okay? and hopefully you'll enjoy the class, all right? And you'll end up being in full control of all your learning here, okay? All right, I think that's pretty much it, what I wanted to go over. Passive learning, here's some examples. I do like to go over this with you, okay? We're going to talk about this in Chapter 4, Process of Osmosis. It has to do with water, but some people feel like osmosis. I had a colleague of mine in college. He used to sleep with his textbook under his pillow. No lie. He believed that if he did that, the information would flow into his head. So take it for what it's worth, all right? But here are some examples of passive learning. Daydreaming, okay? Not taking any notes, not doing the assignments. You're not asking for help, all right? If you're trying to cram the night before that anything is due, not coming to class, all right, and not participating in class. Half of these applied to me when I was where you are, okay? So I get it. All right, I just wanted to kind of go through that, blah, blah, blah. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. And, all right, just a couple things here that'll help you throughout the semester. Be healthy, all right, meaning get out and be active if you can, all right? Because of COVID-19, a lot of people are staying indoors more often. That's not good for you. Try to be a little bit more active. Helps to reduce stress. I don't want you to be stressed out, because when you're stressed, and if you're tired because you're not getting enough sleep, all right, that's definitely going to inhibit your ability to learn, and I don't like that at all. Eat well, all right? Doesn't mean eat a lot, but eat well, okay? All right. Let us get into, all right, so if you want to pull out your notes, and let's start. We're going to take a break here shortly, but I wanted to start chapter 1 here. Okay. All right. I always slept on my textbook. Hey, you know, like I said, he told me about it, and I just thought that was funny. And he said he swore that he learned by osmosis. And for some of you, you may have never heard of osmosis, or you may have heard the term, but you don't have any idea of what osmosis is. It has to do with placebo. Yeah, sure. Oh, it's a Russian thing? Okay. All right. Well, if it's a Russian thing and it works for you, then awesome. All right. But I know it didn't work for me. And neither did staying up and pulling an all-nighter too. I have a feeling that studying or sleeping the night before a test is way better. All right. Let's talk about anatomy and physiology. Okay. And what is it? Because you're here for this course, and some of you are going to be like, well, I'm taking this course because I need it as a prerequisite to get into this program. That's fine. Okay, I get that. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Right? And some of you guys have probably heard different rumors about this course. Well, it's one of those courses that weeds students out for whatever reason. Right? This course is a difficult course. And it's difficult because the material is, there's a lot of complex concepts, but anatomy and physiology, they're not easy, okay? They're not easy. But I'm going to try to present this material to you in a very simplistic format, all right? I consider you all my babies, all my children. I'm going to take you by the hand, and I am going to move you through this material, and I'm going to take what is considered to be difficult material and difficult concepts and try to present it to you in the easiest way that I know how to. And I want you to be successful. But more importantly, I want you to learn. Because if you do very well in this class and you go on to have a successful career in whatever, say it's healthcare, now I'm in a terrible car accident, all right, and I have to come into your ER, I am hoping that if you're going to have to intubate me, that you know where the trachea is, and that you know where the epiglottis is, and that you know how to save my life, okay? So because you're in my immediate community, and there's a possibility that you will be working in this community or moving away, but anyways, it's my duty to make sure that you are able to understand this material and hopefully be good at what you plan on doing. Okay? All right. So, anatomy, physiology, what is it? All right? So when we're talking about anatomy, all right, the thing that you want to think of is form and structure. Why is this not working? There we go. Form and structure of the body. Okay? So what an anatomist does is they look at the body and they'll see the parts of the body. So if I were to take your brain out of your head, the anatomist would look at the brain and see the folds and the little depressions in the brain and see, and they would say, oh, well, these folds are the gyri, these depressions are the sulci, or if they're looking at your intestines, you know, they'll start to name the different parts of the intestines. All right, that's what an anatomist does. They examine these structures and the relationships that these structures have among the different parts of the body. Okay? A physiologist thinks more about how the body functions. Okay? So they'll look at those same organs, all right, and then they're going to try to figure out, well, how do my intestines digest food? All right, I know that certain things occur in this part of the small intestine, all right, but how does this work? You know, how does a piece of cauliflower get broken down and its nutrients get absorbed into my bloodstream? Okay, so they're going to look at that and try to explain, all right, how these body systems, all right, function under normal circumstances. That's what we're going to do in this class mainly. We're going to look at the normal, because to understand the abnormal, you have to first understand how things should normally work. And then you can see when things don't work properly or abnormally, then you can see why. Okay? This is a very important statement here. This is a great test question, true, false question. Form and function are interrelated. So anatomy and physiology are interrelated. You folks are very fortunate that you get to take this course and learn both anatomy and physiology at the same time. When I took the anatomy and physiology, I took anatomy first as its own separate course, and then the following semester I took the physiology and learned how everything worked the second time. This is way better. You're learning the form and the function at the same time because they're interrelated. And so you get to actually see how these structures, where they are, all right, and what they look like, and then you get to learn how they work, okay? So by learning all this, it'll give you a basic understanding of our health, all right, and how we perform, okay? All right, so let's start off with this concept called the scientific method. All right, now you're going to probably wonder, why am I having to learn about the scientific method here? I want to tell you something. The scientific method applies to so many things, and it's not just science. I use the scientific method all the time. When I observe, I'm fascinated with human behavior. I'm not smart enough to be a clinical psychiatrist, all right, but I love it, all right? It's just, I'm strange like that, okay? There's a gentleman called Jordan Peterson, and he's a clinical psychiatrist, and I have been watching some of his YouTube videos, and he's just fascinated me with some of, well, one, how well-researched he is, but just some of his observations. So, speaking of observations, we'll talk about the scientific method, because the first part of the scientific method, all right, has to do with observation. All right, Sir Isaac Newton, the gentleman that has to do a lot with force and Newtonian physics, which is forces acting on structures, and gravity. He observed an apple falling to the ground, and he postulated, he wondered why that happened. So he actually employed the scientific method. When he saw the apple fall to the ground, he observed that phenomenon. And then he was like, well, why is that happening? You know, why is that apple falling to the ground? Is it being pushed to the ground? Is it being pulled to the ground? So he came up with this idea, that his hypothesis, that there was some force that acted on that apple that caused it to move to the ground. So he's like, all right, now I got to figure out why this is going on. So he developed an experiment, okay? And so he's like, all right, I've got to come up with this experiment, and I'm going to test my hypothesis. So his hypothesis could have been there's some force acting on the apple that's pushing it to the ground. So he says, all right, well, I'm going to make this experiment, and when I do this experiment, I'm going to collect data. Right? And all this data, then I'll see if my hypothesis is true or not. So when he did several experiments, all right, he may have realized, all right, there's not a force pushing the apple to the ground. Maybe there's a force that's pulling it to the ground. So of course, he'll start to do more experiments and collect more data. So when you're doing these experiments, you're seeing if the data that you collect is either going to support your hypothesis or if it's going to reject your hypothesis. Okay? So if it supports the hypothesis, then he can actually say, okay, in this case with the apple falling to the ground, he can say there's a force that acts on this apple, and we'll call that gravity. But in the event that he thought that the apple was being pushed to the ground, and he's doing his experiments and the data doesn't support that, then he could say, well, all right, you know what? The apple isn't being pushed to the ground, so I'm going to reject that hypothesis and come up with another one. Right? So that's the scientific method. Starts off with observation, right? Then you come up with an idea, right, or your hypothesis to explain the observation. And then you're going to test the hypothesis by creating an experiment, and you're going to collect data. And that data can either support your hypothesis, all right, or it cannot support the hypothesis. Then you have to reject the hypothesis or modify it and start over or try something new. Okay? So with anatomy, there's several different types of anatomy. Okay? So remember, anatomy is the study of structure and form. So with microscopic anatomy, right, there's some things that are so small we can't see with our blind eye, or what we call the unaided eye. So we have special tools, equipment, that help to see these structures, right? So with microscopic anatomy, we're going to use a microscope. It can be a light microscope. It can be an electron microscope. Okay, there's several different types of microscopy, right? So when we're studying microscopic anatomy, there's two divisions to microscopic anatomy. There's cytology, which is the study of the body cells and the structures that are inside of them, and we'll talk about that in chapter 4. And then there's histology, which is the study of tissues. Okay? So if you take a group of cells, right, and you throw them together to perform a common function, now you have a tissue. Okay? So the tissue is a larger organism or level of organization, right, in the body. We'll talk about the levels of organization here in a second. Okay? So cytology is the study of cells. Histology is the study of tissues here. Okay. Gross anatomy. So this is when we're going to look at something with our unaided eye, right? So we can see it with our own eyes. And in most cases, we're going to dissect whatever we're looking at. Okay? So the first division for gross anatomy is systemic anatomy. So we're going to look at all the different systems of the body. Okay? So each body system. Perfect example, the nervous system, that's a body system. The cardiovascular system, that's a body system. Okay? Respiratory system, urinary system, reproductive system, those are all body systems. And so a lot of Bio 210 and 211 are going to be studying systemic anatomy. All right? So we're going to break it down by the systems and study everything inside that system. Regional anatomy has to do with specific structures in certain body regions. So, for example, our skeleton. Right? We break our skeleton down into two parts. The axial skeleton, which is made up of our skull, our spine, and our rib cage. Okay? That's the part of the skeleton that's right in the middle of our body there. All right? And then you have the appendicular skeleton, which is basically your arms and your legs. Okay, so that's going to be considered regional anatomy. Surface anatomy, we're going to be looking at anatomical markings that are on the outside of the body or superficial. How are these divisions different than the first two? Oh, wait. Alexa, I'm trying to figure out that question. Help me out with that. How are these divisions? Are you talking about the first two divisions that we talked about with cytology and histology? Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, cytology and histology is going to be more based off of microscopic anatomy. So that's going to be something that you need to use a microscope to see. All right. And then gross anatomy, you do not need a microscope. You don't need any aid. You can look at everything just with your own two eyes, so to speak. Okay. Gross versus microscope. Yeah. So one, this one here. Whoops. Microscopic, you use a microscope or some sort of tool. Gross anatomy, you just use your eyes. Okay. Great question though. Comparative anatomy. For those of you that have ever dissected a cat or a fetal pig, okay, it's easier to get a cat or a fetal pig in high school than it is a human cadaver. So we're going to use certain organisms that have similar anatomy to a species that we want to study. So if you want to kind of get a decent idea of the human anatomy without actually dissecting a human, you can use a cat. Okay. Okay, so what we're doing is that some of these species have anatomical similarities between them. Embryology, great subject, I won't say very difficult, but it can be somewhat of a difficult subject, all right, because it actually studies the developmental changes that are occurring in an embryo, in a fetus, all right, from the time of conception to the time of birth, all right, and during that 9-month period, all right, or that 40-week period, a lot of changes are occurring, all right, in the fetus, in the embryo, in the baby, okay? And it's amazing that any one of us are somewhat normal. Will we be dissecting in this class? No, we won't be. We use models in this class. Unfortunately, all of our lab is going to be what we call a dry dissection. Okay, wet dissection you'll actually use. I know, trust me, it makes me sad too. Here, this is how I feel. That's how I feel about not being able to dissect. That was my favorite part of anatomy. Unfortunately, our budget just does not allow us to do that. Sorry. All right. And then the final two parts of anatomy is pathologic anatomy and radiographic anatomy. Pathologic anatomy, again, you're going to use both macroscopic and microscopic, so both the unaided eye and some sort of equipment to study anatomy of things maybe on the cellular level or the tissue level, that these changes occur from disease. Okay, so pathology. And radiographic anatomy, one of my favorites, is we're going to be using, that's your least favorite? You know, an interesting story, when I was in medical school, we used to have our lab right before lunch. And in the beginning, none of us really had an appetite to go to lunch, but I got to tell you, about halfway through the semester, it didn't bother us anymore. I mean, we would go and in fact, we would talk about food while we were dissecting. Anyways, okay, let's talk about anatomy as a dynamic and changing science. Well, what does that mean? All right, dynamic means it's fluid. A lot of things are happening. In 1996, we discovered a group of muscles at the base of our skull. It was discovered by a dentist. They're called the suboccipital muscles. You would have thought that we would have figured out everything by now. I believe it was 4 or 5 years ago we found a new muscle in our leg. Okay, so we're finding, and then I think 3 years ago we found a new cell structure, a new cell organelle. All right, and we couldn't see the cell organelle previously because we would just use two-dimensional microscopes. Well, of course, with technology, they were able to use a 3D microscope, and they discovered a new cell organelle. And I want to say that was 2 or 3 years ago. So that's still relatively new. That's why we say that anatomy is a changing science. It is dynamic. It's still fluid. All right, so this is what I want to do. Is this vocabulary in our manual too? Are you going to have my books yet? This stuff is not in the book. Well, in your manual. What I mean, it's in the textbook, all right, but it's not in your lab manual. Okay. Guy, what I want to do, you got it, Zach. We're going to take a break here. Let's take a 10-minute break. I am going to shut